live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, it's Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening at 6:30 Central Time. Got Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso here. We're talking briefly in the green room, too, just about how we're terrible at anniversary shows. This show, this iteration of Sleepless with Steve, celebrated 5 years in the beginning of April, and we went another year without acknowledging that fact. So this is to our 5th year. It's hard to believe, too, that come September of this year, the Sleepless with Steve, I don't know if you want to call it a brand, but the name will turn 9 years old in September. Because it was started back in 2016. We had the original run on WONC 89.1 FM from 2016 to 2018. And then we graduated, or I graduated, and then we brought it back during the pandemic in April of 2020. So we are now on 5 years strong. This iteration of Sleepless has gone on more than twice the original length of the radio show.
You know what's my favorite? And it's like, if we ever became that famous where like people were making iceberg information of us, where it's like, oh, the lower you go on the iceberg, like the more obscure information, that last layer of iceberg would definitely be like, there's actually a recorded episode like of Sleepless with Steve that was just kind of impromptu on that stream that Dom did on Facebook during the pandemic, when you and I both joined, and we talked about we talked about like some movie that came out in like January that we all saw, and it was like the last movie we saw in theaters.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I remember that call vividly. And it was Chelsea, I believe, Dom's wife, who was the one who was like, "You guys should do this again." But yeah, like I remember we talked about like, I'd love to go back and listen to that because you got to remember that was in April. So that was like the dawn of COVID. We didn't know what was going to be in store for the future. We really didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, I guess like looking back at like prognostications of when we'd go back to the theater and things like that. Because I still remember, it's weird to bring it up, but it's like tied to the resurrection of Sleepless. The last weekend I went to the movies was that weekend. It was the same. It was the week when, I always say, the week when shit got real in America. Because I remember it. I remember it was really starting to get bad. Like California and Illinois were two of the states that really closed down early. But I remember like turning on that Thunder Jazz game of the NBA.
Yeah.
When I got home from work. And they called it at tip-off, and I just turned it on just to watch it, and just to have it on in the background. And then I'm like, you know, it's like 7:20, and they haven't tipped off yet. Usually it's like 11 minutes into the 7 o'clock or so, 11 minutes after, and then they called that game, and then the NBA season suspended. And that was when I was like, that was a Wednesday, and I remember like that's when I thought like, man, like this is getting serious now. And then I went to the theater. I went to the theater that weekend. I saw The Hunt and I saw I Still Believe. And I can remember walking out of I Still Believe, turning around and looking at AMC Peru in Peru, Illinois, turning around, maybe staring at it for like 10 seconds and then going back to my car. And that was the last movie I'd seen until I was vaccinated.
What was it? Dude, yeah, I remember it was that when the NBA playoffs got like canceled, and then when No Time to Die was like indefinitely delayed, I just went, yeah, we're about to see something here. Like I knew because of like I was working in local government at the time that like some restrictions were coming into place, and I knew that was gonna happen. But when those two things happen, where it's like, if you stop sports and entertainment, yeah, something's going on.
When the NBA shut down, and it was, if you remember, it was less than 30 minutes after that game got called.
Yep.
It was like Roy Janowski came out and said the NBA has suspended the season.
Yeah,
and then it was like, I remember like talking to my best friend Nick at the time. I said, dude, they shut down $1 billion league.
Yeah.
I said like they shut down the league, you know. And then we have a lot of good quotes in the pandemic. That same friend Nick had one of the best. We would call each other like 2-3 times a week because we had nothing else to do. I remember it was like July and we were talking on the phone one day at like 2 o'clock on a Saturday, and my buddy Nick just goes, this shit would be like 70% more tolerable with sports.
My dad said the same thing, bro. He said, bro, he didn't say bro, but he was like, football better be back on by the time we get to September. They better figure out a way. I don't care if fans aren't in the stadium. Just let me watch a damn game.
Because my buddy even said too, he was like, how many fucking times am I gonna watch a goddamn Cub game from the 80s on TV? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that was another capital T unprecedented times right here. Little memory lane though. That's about it. That's the Sleepless reunion you're gonna get, because it's like inextricably, or the Sleepless anniversary you're gonna get, because that's like it just inextricably tied to the pandemic. And look how far we've come. It's all led us to a Minecraft movie, which is going to be our talking point today.
The last movie we ever reviewed.
We call it quits after this one, for better or for worse. We'll still keep going. I guess first things first, before we jump into it, Dom, how are you doing today?
I am doing okay. Went to a school board meeting, and that's all I'll say about that. I'll tell you gentlemen later, but it was very eventful, because usually no one goes to a school board meeting until everyone goes to a school board meeting. Joe can relate to this just in terms of general government affairs, local government affairs. So it's good to see the community come out. I think ultimately it came out very positively. And yeah, so that's the big talk about town in my life. But other than that, yeah, just enjoying we are coming out of the cold snap, the second winter, or the third winter or whatever, and I think it's going to be raining. It's going to be raining, but it's going to be better weather from here on in. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's been a chilly start to April, to say the very least, even out here. It's a little bit warmer out here today than it has been in recent time, but still chilly. Joe, how are you doing today? My other civic-minded friend over here.
Doing really good. Down with the government. No, hold on, I shouldn't be saying that stuff anymore. That was just a joke. In Minecraft. That's because he just pointed out the whole civic thing, so I thought it'd be funny to throw that in. No, but I'm doing pretty well. Recovered from my surgery. Work's been going all right. Getting back into the swing of things. Been catching up on a lot of good TV lately, and more good TV to come. Been loving. I watched The Penguin finally. That's very good. I finished Shogun, which is one of the best TV shows I think I've watched in It's probably one of the best TV shows I watched in the last decade.
Is it limited series, or is there like a season 2?
No, there's gonna be a season 2.
Okay.
But I really wish it just stayed as a limited series. I see what they can do with it, but I really do wish it stayed as a limited series. But if it's the same team coming back and everything, I would love to see what they do with it. I think it's just absolutely amazing. If there's one show I think people should check out, if Steve, I know you're not a TV show guy, you don't really get around to watching too many of them. I think Shogun's definitely one though that's something you have to see, because it is close to just cinematic movie making on television. Yes, the meme.
Peak cinema.
Peak cinema. No, honestly, they're several times like that. And make sure you don't watch that dub shit. I know you guys won't, but you gotta watch it how it was actually made in mind, because it's way fucking better. And fuck FX for airing that version of it.
Of course they did. I noticed one of the actors in it. This character will mean something to you. Pilot Major John Blackthorne in the movie.
Yes.
Cosmo Jarvis is in Warfare.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. He's very good in Shogun.
I don't forget a name like Cosmo Jarvis. So he's in it. Yeah, he's in it.
But yeah. I watched that. Daredevil just finished that last night. That was great. Andor season 2 is right around the corner. It's some good entertainment out there, whether it's on the screen or on your TV, and definitely check it out. I also went to Comic-Con over the weekend. Not Comic-Con LA, but the C2E2 in Chicago. I should have grabbed all the things I got, but I'll grab the one thing I got. Because I love the Turtles, and I've been meaning to read this finally because they announced the movie adaptation of this. I picked up The Last Ronin, which, if I were to say anything, it might sound stupid, but this is basically doing what Logan did with Wolverine, but they do it with the Turtles. And it sounds
Wow.
ridiculous, but they still find a way to make it as like kind of dark and disturbing at times, but they still find very clever and unique ways to have that turtle charm to it, and it just
Weren't
blends in so well.
weren't
What's
the
up?
Turtles like a Silver Age, like really edgy comic
You know what? Yes, they were, and I'm glad you mentioned
before?
it, Tom.
Yeah, Saturday morning TV kind of made
They were
them more
gritty in their
palatable.
original run.
So
They,
one thing I think that's really cool, and Robert Rodriguez like even
I
pointed this
mean,
out too, because he read this. When they do flashbacks, it's in the art style of that gritty black and white comic book.
That's
Uh,
sick, dude.
yeah,
cool.
it's very well done. I'm almost done with it. It's only 5 issues long, so it's actually a pretty quick read. I'm on the fourth issue. I read it last night. I read up into the fourth one. I was like, dude, it's 12:30. I have to go to bed. It had me on the edge of my seat. There's some really good reveals in there, and I can't wait to see what Paramount does with the live action adaptation of it.
I
Oh,
dig
yeah.
the Turtles. I really do. It's funny. One of the other DJs at the radio station, he's got an endorsement with a video game resale shop out here, and
Nice.
he's good friends with the owner. And I met him a little bit. I don't know the owner super well, obviously not on the level of him, but he bought the owner of this video game shop bought another arcade cabinet for his personal use,
Oh
but he
wow.
doesn't have anywhere to store it yet. So he decided to store it at the radio station in the other DJ's office, and it is a combo machine of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Oh
arcade
shit.
and Turtles in Time. And
Nice.
it's rigged to free play. It's rigged to free play. So you just go in there and you just keep hitting start for how many lives you want or how many
That's sick.
containers you want. You can choose which game you want. It's really fun.
Last thing I
It's
Wow.
just a cool thing to have too in the office.
Last thing I want to do is for this special edition, which I got at the comic, there is an introduction by Robert Rodriguez and like how he discovered, because this came out during the pandemic. So funny enough, like it all like circles back. And this was like Rodriguez read it during then and he loved it and everything, and he talks about it in this introduction. And this is actually produced and like by Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon actually gave their blessing for it to be
Oh,
like
wow.
this dark and gritty like tale and everything.
This sounds really interesting. I might have to check and see if the library out here has
Check it
that.
out, man. When they
sounds
reveal who
really
the last
interesting.
Ronin is, my jaw was like, no shit, like that's who it is. Holy
No
fuck!
shit.
I'm gonna have to look at that because I love comics. That sounds right up my alley. I'd like to at
Yeah.
least read it before the movie. But anyway, we'll jump right into this movie. How we're gonna make this, I'm very excited to see. A Minecraft movie is in theaters right now. It's made over $500 million worldwide. There's a good chance you've seen it. There's a ton of headlines that you're seeing now. Obviously, the chicken jockey meme speaks for itself. The viral TikTok trend. We'll probably talk about a little bit of our theater experiences seeing this thing here. I almost feel like this movie, like for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, it took obviously a couple of years before that became such a hit on the midnight circuit. It feels like this has become unto its own thing with the help of social media in record time. And it's caught in like, some headline stuff, cops getting called and, popcorn getting all over the place. I kind of just dial it back and say like, I think it's really fun, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that here in a few. Because there's just so much to jump on with this movie. This is a Minecraft movie. It's Jared Hess's brand new film. Jared Hess, the director of Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, Gentlemen Broncos, a handful of other movies. Star-studded cast in this thing. Now, I'm going to be the first one to say that of the three of us right now, I know I have the least exposure to Minecraft. I have actually never played it. I've watched it being played. I've been in the room with my buddy watching him play it. This was many years ago in high school. I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar enough with it, but I have never once sat down and played it. And I got to be honest, I wasn't super excited to see this thing. I saw this more out of obligation, but it didn't take long for me to really get into this thing and really love what they did with this movie. This is, Dom's going to cringe, but I love it. This is a blockbuster to its core. I had a lot of fun with this. Now, I don't think, when the high praise I'm going to heap on this movie, I don't think, I'm not going to put this movie in the pantheon of like Top Gun Maverick or Mad Max Fury Road as a blockbuster that kind of redefines the genre or shows its capabilities, or like, like furthers its capabilities rather. I'm not going to go that far with it. But I am going to say this movie does a lot of things really well. Uh, the two things I think in particular that this thing does really well, and I'll expand upon these as we get on, but I think this thing is very, very smartly paced. I
Hmm.
think this thing is a really well paced movie. I also think it sidesteps the conventional origin story plotting that a lot of these movies that try to set up franchises fall victim to. And then thirdly, I also think not only is the cast spectacular, but the way the cast is utilized is spectacular too. So those are kind of the three legs of the tripod on which I'm going to use to kind of talk about a Minecraft movie. I want to hear from you though, Dom. What was your impression of this thing? What are your general impressions of a Minecraft movie?
My general impressions. Well, Steve, are you familiar with the works of Miyazaki?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't think this movie is familiar with that at all. And that's okay because if you are expecting this to be a a a piece of high art, then you're in for the wrong reasons. You can bemoan the state of the industry for allowing something like Minecraft to be the phenomenon that it is. And we can go back and forth on that. I'm a little sympathetic to it, but also, because this is one of those movies where half of it I am genuinely rolling my eyes. The other half I'm doing a bit because this is a pretty fun, colorful movie. It is difficult for me to connect with it because I'm 31 years old. Here's the thing though. The popular and I fell into not a trap, but I had this back and forth in my mind too, where it's like some of the best animated children's movies. I know this is partial, like, 60% animated or whatever, but some of the best movies for kids still have something to give to adults. And I absolutely agree by that margin as well, by that line of thought. And while I would argue there is a couple of things in here that do hearken to older folks, I don't think that necessarily needs to be a requirement. Also, Minecraft has been a thing since crap, I should know this. Since like
2011, I think.
at least, yeah. And I think it was in beta before that for a long time. A lot of the community helped the original developer to kind of make it what we know it today, because Minecraft had a fantastic history, a very fascinating one too, because Minecraft as it is, as the game as we know it, the mainstream knows it, it was not anywhere close to that at all. It was workshopped, went through multiple iterations, not just as what we know as Minecraft, but just completely transforming what the game is, just because the single dude developing it was just kind of playing around with stuff. And that's really what Minecraft is. You're playing around with stuff, right? You can treat it as a survival game with those restraints, or you can go in full build mode where there's no pressure at all. You can fly around and just make things. And that creativity has really seeped into our generation and now the next generation so much. Minecraft will stay with us for the rest of our lives. That just needs to be said. All right. I try not to make sweeping statements like that, but it is a cultural phenomenon, right? I think I don't know the numbers, but I feel like it's in the billions of dollars that of
Oh, easily.
Minecraft alone.
Easily.
I'll say that safely with merchandising. And it is a fascinating story. So back to the movie, which is that I am happy to see that that this movie is taking on, is mirroring what it is in the culture. And I think that's really cool, especially here in 2025 where the world is really shitty. So a specific night to allow for people to get crazy in.
I
They
did
call
see
it
some.
Chicken Jockey Night because Chicken Jockey was the memeable moment where everyone. It's like Rocky Horror where everyone was throwing shit, or like The Room where people are throwing shit at the screen and stuff. And I'm glad that's good marketing. That's good business sense from them.
It is.
So anyway, yeah, I'm just like, is this movie for me? No, it doesn't appeal to my general tastes and as an adult, but I am happy for what we got. and I'll go into more detail about that because I think it appeals to me in interesting ways, and I am glad that the cast here is working pretty damn hard. I salute them that no one was phoning it in, really.
What say you, Joe?
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I'm probably more negative than Dom is, but
I'll probably sympathize with you, honestly.
I get it if people are liking this. I get it, man. You know, to me, it was like I was watching this and it's like it didn't do anything for me. Um, it like God, where do I start with this fucking movie?
What were your theaters like? Sorry to derail. What were your theaters like?
Oh, I had a 10 out of 10 theater experience. But
Okay.
like, the movie itself, that's a different story. Look, I'm gonna say this. Dom nailed it, and like, sorry I had to like step out of the room and everything and whatnot. I had some technical problems to attend to while the stream was going. For me, I look at it like this. It just wasn't made for me, and I'm not gonna be that upset about it. That it like there are some people I've seen on Twitter, on just social media in general, who are losing their minds that this movie's making that this much money, which to me is not a surprise at all. I like it's one of the biggest video games ever. The kids nowadays, this is their childhood. This was my childhood at one point too. So it was gonna appeal to a wide demographic of people. Like, boys and girls play this. I've seen my cousins who are 6 and 7. One's a boy, one's a girl. They're playing this on their Nintendo Switch every time I go there. They're constantly
on the Switch. God damn.
It's on everything. It's on mobile. It's on the Switch. It's on the iPads.
Jesus.
Like, it's on everything. It's not that big a surprise that it did this well at the box office and everything. Warner Brothers like, hey, Zaslav, good job on that one, I guess. Like, he actually stuck through with making this one. For me, look, I'm gonna let you know right now, I didn't like the movie. I didn't. I thought the movie was kind of bad, actually. But it's not like I came out of it like I came out of like Jurassic World or all these other movies that we've given like 1-star reviews, where it's like, and it has nothing to do. It has. It has nothing to do with the fact that, like, I've seen people be like, oh, well, kids deserve better entertainment. You shouldn't be like letting it go because it's a kids movie. Sure. But am I really gonna get that pissed off at a kids movie? Like, come on, seriously. I've seen kids movies, honestly though, I've seen kids movies that have actually been more degrading than this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I watched Harold and the Purple Crayon too.
There you go. There's a perfect example. That piece of shit. So like this movie, like what I could say is that it is Minecraft from top to bottom. What was Harold and the Purple Crayon? It wasn't that. It was not Harold, nor was it Harold and the Purple Crayon. It was neither one of those things. Minecraft the movie, at least, without a doubt, I can look at that and say, yeah, I mean, that is the Minecraft movie. Like, it was in the world. They didn't do the whole, Steve comes into our world. No. It was in that world. They made their own lore with it. They brought in so many references to the games. They adapted it to the world's rules, which the rules are just whatever you want it to be, honestly. And so on and so forth. So it's like, I can't get mad when it's like, yeah, I don't think this is good, but like, I can tell, like, this is for the fans. This is really being made. Now, yeah, I mean, I had the same thing with Five Nights at Freddy's, but to me, I was like, okay, Five Nights at Freddy's just was a bad horror movie. Like, it wasn't even good at that. Like, so I've been in this like weird thing where it's like people have told me like, how could you not be mad at the movie and everything? It's just like, I'm just not.
It's part of getting older too.
It really,
I mean? And, like,
it
recognizing
really
you're
is.
not the target demographic for it too. And I like how Dom brought up kind of the Ebertian philosophy of like, grade a movie on what it's attempting to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How it's, and who is it for, and how was it attempting to be about what it's about?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of credence with that here.
I feel that same way as well, where I feel like, you look at this movie, it's made for kids, 100%, and everything. Now, look, as a film, I have to disagree with what Steve said. And Steve, I wear this shirt as like, a sign of good faith. I thought the characters were not good in this movie. I really didn't. The female characters, I felt like, man, like if there's one thing, like it really felt like they just threw them in there just to have diversity for the sake of diversity. And I know that's a hot button issue now in society and everything, but like they really didn't do anything with both female characters. I don't even think they did anything with even the main boy character. To me, the only people in this movie that have a distinct personality and like kind of like actually like an arc to the film almost and almost like have something is Jack Black as Steve and Jason Momoa as oh my god, I forgot his name. They say it so many times too.
Garrett.
Garrett, thank you. I almost said the dog's name, whatever the hell that was too.
Dennis, yeah.
Dennis, thank you. To me, those two, like, I honestly was sitting there, I'm like, I'm not liking this. I'm like, but I am genuinely laughing at these two interacting from time to time, and I kind of wish this was just the movie. Because I actually feel like these two would have just been a lot of fun, where it's like, you have this guy who owns a video game store, and he was the king of the 80s in video games. And now, like, it's like, all right, like, you really ain't nothing now and everything. And then, funny enough, he gets thrown in. And I know, like, in this world, it's not known as Minecraft the video game. It's just a world and everything. But, like, he's thrown into this new video game world, basically. And, like, they almost tease it up, like, oh, he's going to try and, like, what's it called? Like, he's going to try and take on the overworld like he does with his video games. He's like, oh, that's obviously the quest giver is this sheep right here. I'll go talk to him. And it's like they never come back to that joke again. And all I thought to myself was, damn, like that would have been really cool if like this guy's been like stuck in the past and everything, and especially during the 80s video game renaissance of like arcade games, the Nintendo Entertainment System and everything, that like, he kind of carries us into this overworld and everything. And then Steve's like, oh, that's just not how things work here and whatnot. It could have been like a really fun meta thing of like, he's kind of like the parent coming into playing Minecraft with their kids or something. I don't know, but like I was just sitting there like the potential is there, and it's just like they just didn't do that. To me,
you know what I think they kind of, or not to interrupt you, you know what I think they kind of did, and it didn't dawn on me until I was writing the review. Do you guys remember the documentary, The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters?
Yes, yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a long time, but yes,
I think I can't confirm this, but just by the way Jason Momoa looks and acts, I kind of think they modeled him after Billy Mitchell.
Yeah,
I kind of think they modeled him a little bit after Billy Mitchell.
And Billy Mitchell is a very, very troubled individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like all it was missing was the hot sauce. I kept waiting for him to like shill hot sauce or something and then be like, yep, there it is.
He traded the hot sauce for a good physical body, like actual.
Pretty much like they make him like buff. They give him a Dora the Explorer jacket or like a, like that's who he reminded me of the whole time. But since we're on this point though, and where I know we're butting up against intermission, I want to say though, I thought the cast was electric. And I go as far as to the kids, Sebastian Hansen and Emma Myers. I think Sebastian Hansen, and he's referred to at one point in this as like the Frodo of the group. I think he plays that type very well.
Oh, this really is Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
A lot. It's very similar to Lord of the Rings. Some people have said it's a little Star Wars, which I can kind of see. I see more Lord of the Rings in this, though, than I do Star Wars. But I see Sebastian Hansen as kind of like a Frodo character. I like how he kind of subtly grows a little bit more confident and a little bit more assured of his creative abilities throughout the movie. So I will say I think that's where he does get a personality. I like Emma Myers as his sister, too, kind of torn between the struggle. They don't go into it a lot, but they go into it enough. The struggle of her trying to be a peer and a parent to her, to him. I think if anybody is underutilized here, it's Danielle Brooks.
Yes,
I will give 100%.
You that.
I agree.
I will give you that because I like Danielle Brooks a ton in The Color Purple. So I will give you that Danielle Brooks does feel like she's underused, but I do think she does does make the moment she's afforded thanks to her affable personality. But there is no better, sharper conduit for this world than Jack Black. And that right away, I think, it sells me too, because this movie allows for Jack Black to be completely manic, completely unabated. He flexes a little bit of his Tenacious D side because it affords him to sing. You know what I mean? In a few brief but memorable songs. and he's just a veteran comic in that, like, he's so good at running around, being the center of battles, chases, building up his cohorts. I loved his Steve character too, because he's always building up this group of like misfits that he's now with. Like I love his interactions. With Sebastian Hansen's character. I love that connection that those two develop, Henry or Hank. I love how he just tries to build him up and gets his confidence back. I love the cast chemistry here. I thought it was terrific.
I mean, like, Steve, here's the thing. I know you kept like making jokes like, oh, I'm gonna get crap for this. Oh, I'm gonna get like everything. But it is refreshing to hear someone actually like bring up all these things that they're actually seeing with the movie. Like, it's like, while I don't see it there, it's kind of like, but like, you bring up why you see those things, and it's like, yeah, I can see that connecting with someone and everything. For me, it just didn't. To me, like, anytime Jack Black wasn't actually doing, and most of the time this would annoy me in any other movie, if he wasn't doing his Jack Black-isms, he was just saying stuff from the game. Like, he was just like quoting just weird, like, just items from the game, enemies from the game, and it's just like, oh guys, look, it's blah 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 blah, and it's just like, that's all his dialogue was. Like, it really felt like Jason Momoa was really the only person I felt like that was a character. At least for me. I could understand if you thought Hank and Emma Myers' character, like,
there was
I
a
can
bit of an
understand
arc there.
Yeah, they do. I just feel like it's never fully realized, because they bring up like, oh yeah, our mom died, and it's just like, all right, well, we got that done and over with. Okay, all right, so on to the next thing. Like,
I'm going to make a quick assumption here before we cut the Zoom
go ahead.
intermission.
I know I was like butting up against the clock. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just want to make a quick assumption. I think, why I think Garrett is so good, Jason Momoa is so good. I mean, obviously he's game for the role, but I also think Jared Hess, who was a co-writer on this movie too, Napoleon Dynamite's The Connection. I think he modeled him a little bit after Uncle Rico.
He totally did, yeah.
and then you have the tater tot launcher too, which is like the callback. And then did anybody else read that wrestling scene as Nacho Libre-esque? Like, there's a few callbacks.
The whole movie, Jack Black was just playing Nacho Libre.
It has that Hess. It has like this Hess styling of being a little bit weird, and I think that's why Garrett works so well as a character. Is he's kind of Uncle Rico in that archetype here. I hate to not leave room for a rebuttal. We're butting up against our Sleepless intermission. We will be back here in about 60 to 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. And I love football, though. I find it incredibly fascinating. I find it simultaneously simple but complex. The business of football, though, is a very different beast. And it's something that when you start diving into, it really shows you what runs this country, what runs the academic programs of this country, whether it be the University of Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, the big collegiate powerhouses that we have in this country. Football not only runs these schools, but supplements every other sports program at major D1, Division I college athletics. Football is the bankroll. It's the reason you have a women's basketball team. It's the reason these colleges have lacrosse teams and tennis teams and badminton teams. It's the reason for it, because football is a fucking cash cow in this country. And there probably hasn't been, and if there is, I don't want to make this a blanket statement because I haven't seen it. I've admittedly lacked on documentaries in recent time, but there might not be a better, there admittedly might not be a better documentary to show that fact than BS High, which is currently streaming on Max, directed by Martin Desmond Rowe and Trevon Free. I want to give these two dudes names. I want to give them name drops, and I want to name drop them a couple times because, man, these are some good directors. These are some good directors. I find documentaries to be, and I've been reviewing documentaries since I started reviewing movies back in 2009. I find documentaries the hardest types of movies to review because of the fact that it's like, am I interested? Do I love the story or do I love the movie? Or do I love the idea and the themes that the story brings on? or do I love the approach? And it's something that I wrestle with constantly when I watch documentaries, because I feel like it's tough. As somebody like me who has a lot of different vested interests, I can go from talking to you about ringtone rap of 2007 to Ren and Stimpy and its problematic creator in 2000 in the 1990s to country music of the 1950s, all of which topics on documentaries I've watched. I find documentaries the toughest to review because of the fact I wrestle with the fact, am I interested in the story and the subject, or do I love the way it was approached? And I love both when it comes to BS High. I think this is a terrific documentary about a slimy piece of shit person. And also, too, a really deceptively intricate scam at the same time that it wasn't a deceptively intricate scam. The movie focuses on the Bishop Sycamore High School scandal. Now, I remember when this game aired on ESPN. I want to give a little background here. I remember when this game aired on ESPN. I didn't watch it, but I remember seeing it on TV. It was Bishop Sycamore High School versus IMG Academy. I remember seeing that game air on TV. It was 2021. It was in late summer. I want to say August. August of 2021. I remember seeing it, and I remember seeing Bishop Sycamore trending on Twitter, and I'm like, what is this? And I remember like scrolling through, and I'm like, there's some high school playing on ESPN. And at the time, you got to think of the context. This was about a year and a half after COVID, or year and a half during COVID, if you want to think of it that way. And I remember looking at it and thinking like, God, ESPN must be pressed for programming. They're airing a high school, matchup on their premier network. But back and better than ever after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. It is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. Coming to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time. Still a lot more to unpack about a Minecraft movie. If we go a little bit over time, I don't know if we'll touch on the box office haul, because I honestly would rather kind of stick to talking about the movie. I don't think there's a ton to say about the box office other than I think that analysts grossly underestimated the impact of this movie across generations. But first things first, he might be unseen on camera, but that's about to change pretty soon. I think Joe's got something in store for us.
Oh, that's not supposed to be it. See, it didn't work, but all right, there we go.
He's a gamer.
Do you guys see this right now?
Yes,
oh,
I do.
Man. Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna come back and do the whole review like this the entire time, and
That's
actually, like,
awesome.
You still can. You
Okay.
still can.
All
That's
right,
pretty
well,
cool. I'm
there we
fine
go.
with that.
Have you
All
ever
right.
seen like red versus blue? Just like nod your head like a machinima
yeah,
every time you talk.
just like, oh, I can't do it.
That's
that good,
really
but
funny.
whatever.
That's good, actually.
That's cool, man. I was going to say, and he's dressed like Dom.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I was going to say, hey, it's one of those
It's
goats.
like
from the
Subway
movie.
Surfers. Yeah, just play Minecraft underneath.
Just play
while we
Minecraft while
talk
we're
about the
reviewing
movie.
it. Yeah, no, it was supposed to be like a whole thing. I was so happy I got it to work, and then the internet crapped out, and I was like, of course, out of all the times. But anyways, let's continue with our review.
No, I was just talking kind of on the cast chemistry and stuff like that. The one person we didn't mention, though, and I'll be honest, like, I don't know if I was in a good mood. I'm gonna stand by it because I do think it's funny. I don't know if I was in a good mood because I could have seen it annoying me in another movie. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed Jennifer Coolidge in this thing even too. I'm not gonna lie. Those kind of cutaways, the Minecraft civilian, the civilians they're known as, right? The Minecraft civilians,
Villagers,
like,
yeah.
The villagers, excuse me. The villagers look like monk Squidwards, and that amused me too.
Yeah,
They look like Squidward monks. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. I found Jennifer Coolidge funny, like in this thing. I thought she was well utilized in.
You're not a
this.
big Jennifer Coolidge fan?
No, it's not. I know that kind of came out wrong. I meant like I even found kind of her bits funny. When in a lot of movies, I feel like they would drive me nuts. There was just something. They were quick. They were quick hits. They didn't interrupt the story too much, and I thought that they were purposeful.
I was like, are we getting like TV show B plots here? What is happening? But then, yeah, so it actually turns out it's a little bit of not slapstick humor, but
There's an
Like,
effective enough punchline in each one of the
yeah.
bits.
Her, whenever they cut back to her, it was more one of the more funnier moments of that movie. It's even just some of the side characters in this movie actually genuinely made me laugh out loud. The art teacher has like my favorite line in the movie.
He's funny.
And it's like first line he's introduced is like, "Hello, I'm gonna be your teacher," and blah, blah, blah. And then he just gets into his personal life. It's just like, whoa.
He said something like, "I have crippling student loans."
Yeah. He's like, I'm in crippling financial ruin. It's just like,
Well, and that was another thing. Like this was another thing that and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place too. He's not a credited writer. I did screw that up initially, but one of his longtime partners, Hubble Palmer, is one of the writers on this movie. And he co-wrote Masterminds with Jared Hess, which was a very funny movie that not many people saw with Zach Galifianakis. Hess's fingerprints, though, feel like they're all over this movie, which is very atypical of blockbusters these days, where you feel like there's a corporate boardroom controlling a lot of it. It feels like Hess got to have a lot of involvement in creative liberty on this thing, and just being familiar with his filmography, even though I detest Napoleon Dynamite like a sickness.
Wait, you do?
I can't stand. You know what's funny? I've never finished that movie. I've tried 3 separate occasions. I've never been able to finish it. I find it insufferable, quite frankly.
Wow. Okay.
I find it. I've never finished it, and I've tried 3 different times to finish it. I'm the one of Jared Hess where I'm like, Gentlemen Broncos was pretty good. Masterminds was pretty good. But I appreciate his style though of like. Even the title, a Minecraft movie, doesn't suggest this is the definitive Minecraft story.
Yeah.
I love kind of the creative liberty and that he was afforded and the direction he took with it ultimately.
Man. What else was there? I thought like also what was actually another thing I actually did enjoy about this movie? Oh, I actually sorry. I actually thought in terms of, because the biggest problem I had with that Borderlands movie was I thought like, hey, yeah, like the set design and everything does look good, but like you still like, to me, like it just didn't feel like the actual planet of Pandora from those games. There was not a single moment here I was like, no, this is definitely the Minecraft world. Like, it's like everything from the different biomes and everything. I'm like, they got it down to a T. And it's like to actually see the behind the scenes of it too, where they actually made some of those sets. And people who were actually in villager costumes, it's like just their face was CGI'd. I'm like, that's actually kind of cool to see and everything. Yeah, Dom, go ahead. Before I'm still trying to find like just positives to say because I don't want to be too hard.
Well, I'll say my biggest critique of the movie is what you alluded to earlier, which is that this felt very gamey at so many points.
Yeah,
and it is rattling off things from the game. It is jangling these keys in front of these kids, and it's annoying. That did get to me.
But is it not incorporating those things though? Is it not incorporating those things at least into a bit or a scene or something like that?
Sometimes not. Sometimes it's implicit sometimes, right? So for instance, the scene where with the chicken, multiple chicken thing, not the chicken jockey, but rather the fried chicken, where he uses the contraption to make a chicken, and then he sings that chicken song.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's like an implicit nod to how people can create all of these interesting things in Minecraft. That is what Minecraft truly is about, which is just effing around, making these Rube Goldberg machines, using your creativity and all that stuff. And that was like more of an implicit, more baked in kind of deal. And then you have things like Chicken Jockey, where it's like, oh, chicken jockey, and it's like,
or
okay,
cube.
Yeah, something like that, where it's like, yeah, sure. It also, I guess this is apropos and neither of those points, but the thing where it's like, oh, I gotta build a wall really fast, and then the character is just doing like that really fast. It only works with Jack Black. Like a lot of things, Jack Black can get away with a lot of things. Only he can get away with that. When the other characters do that, it's stupid.
Yeah,
it's really dumb.
It didn't come like that was the other thing too, is that like I guess that's kind of why I also feel like Emma Myers and the rest of them, other than Jason Momoa, just didn't fit. It's because like Jack Black really did feel like he fit this world because of his energy and everything, like Steve was saying at the start. Like when
Because
when
it's
he's
like
like,
it's manic, like young Gen
yes,
Z
yes.
energy. That's
Well,
what
you know,
it is.
and I attribute
It's like
that. Look,
TikTok energy.
yes,
Right?
and I attribute that. And look at me doing like a deep dive here on the psychology of his character in the Minecraft movie. I
Yeah,
attribute
a
that
true
because
millennial does YouTube essays.
as a
Yeah.
child, he yearned for the mines, and so like he finally got to see it and everything. And so like that's why I took it as and everything. And like Jason Momoa's character is like, you know, the complete opposite of that, where like, you know, he's like, you know, kind of like trying to be too cool for school and everything and whatnot to this world and everything.
Or he is eternally stuck as a kid.
Or
Like,
that,
he can't
yeah.
go past it.
Yeah, it just felt it just felt like, damn, like, you know, everybody else, like it feels like they're just not putting in that same level of effort that Jack Black is here, and it's probably not their fault. I mean, like, for me at least, the script wasn't doing much for me, so I can't imagine it's doing much for them. I just couldn't help but feel also just watching this movie. I'm like, shit, like the Lego movies, at least the first one, and even the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I'm like, I felt like they just did a better job in terms of a Super Mario Bros. Being like fully that game world and everything, and then the Lego movie being about like creativity and like, you know, being allowing yourself to create and everything and having this freedom. I feel like those movies just handle that message better. Where it's like here, I feel like the message was a complete afterthought, and it only mattered at the end when, especially when they give that sorry ass excuse. I'm sorry if this is harsh, that sorry ass excuse for the villain's motivation, which was like, oh, I wanted to dance and create and be fun, and I never got to do it again, so no one else in the world can ever do it. I was just like, okay, yeah, that's how it works, sure.
I'll say too, kind of loaning itself to this point. I mentioned the pacing is one of the things that I think really put this movie a little bit over the edge for me, and I'll explain why. This is one of the first times I felt that like this movie bridges the gap between the old sensibilities of blockbusters and the rapid fire sort of whiz bang mile a minute sensibilities of the modern entertainment that we see in like the Lego movie or Dogman more recently. And here's why I'll say this. Think about the climax of this movie, which involves the group gathering together, okay? The group of humans gathering together. Henry sketches up the ideas for weaponry to battle Malgosia.
Yes.
Then you have the other characters.
He knows the name.
Dude, I was about to say, I didn't want to say anything like, this literally is Steve's Lord of the Rings, bro.
But then you have Steve, Daniel Brooks's character, Dawn, and Natalie, who's Emma Myers. You have them construct these weapons before whacking them with a hammer. Now they exist. The next scene cuts to the battle and shows how those weapons are deployed. Then it cuts back to the room where they create another weapon. They build it. They whack it. The next scene shows it in use. Do that a couple more times, then the battle commences. It doesn't afford any time for downtime. There's no exhaustion from like needless planning and going back and forth of how to conduct the battle. Mercifully, there's no scene. Now, the characters split up, and there's like this frosty chemistry between Steve and Garrett. It never gets too mean, though, between the two of them. It's more like playful chiding of middle-aged dudes.
Yeah.
So they split up, but there's mercifully never this moment of like them of the group fighting and bitching and moaning and going off their separate ways and then the inevitable reconciliation. There's none of that. This movie moves, and this movie moves at a pace that I don't think is like necessarily too fast and not too slow. I
honestly made a joke to myself. I'm like, because this movie has nonstop action. I was like, this is like the child's version. This is the Minecraft version of Mad Max Fury Road, bro. This thing is not stopping. They are constantly on the move.
Yeah, they don't let the grass grow under their feet.
No, they really don't. It's really...
And I admire that. I admire that because half the time
it wouldn't take that long too, because it's Minecraft. Yeah,
it's true. with these, it's gonna get dark soon. You with these origin stories though, there's so much fucking plotting and there's so much like backstory. I've seen critics complain about the opening narration with Steve. Didn't bother me one bit. I love Jack Black.
That actually didn't bother me either. I actually thought that was actually one of the stronger points in the movie.
That could have been the first 50 minutes of the fucking movie. Like, you know what I mean? With all of that, and it would have probably not amounted to much. At least it gets all that out of the way and contextualizes it, especially for somebody like me who's not familiar with the world, drops us in the damn thing and go.
Yeah.
Like, I admire that. We talk about how movies can be too long, especially with more directorial control. I love the pacing of this thing. I think they nailed it.
As someone who is not fond of those types of openings, I will give Minecraft credit for doing it as efficiently as it possibly could for
Honestly,
something
yeah.
as just manic and crazy as Minecraft world. I get it.
It like, to me, it was one of the more stronger points of the movie because, like, again, like, it was Jack Black. It was just like he had this energy, and it's so surprising how much, in the Borderlands movie I was so annoyed of him and I couldn't stand him as Claptrap, and in this movie I was like, he's actually like one of the things I do like about the movie. Like, it was just such a surprise, genuine surprise.
We keep circling this point, so I think, just to say, I think this movie really if you're an older person, right, older, and you're watching this movie, I think it really comes down to, do you like Jack Black being Jack Black, and to a
Yeah.
lesser extent Jennifer Coolidge, right? For those moments. And I mean, Jason Momoa, he is honestly continuing his trend of fighting his typecast as hard as possible, like with his Fast and Furious appearance as a villain. It's kind of the same character. It's in the same spectrum. Those two
Yeah.
characters in
More
Fast and
pathetic,
Furious
though.
and this.
More pathetic. Doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah.
And
But
I think he's I think he's a screw up this whole movie. At no point does he actually like fight successfully, does he? Or just barely. And it's all Jack Black doing headbutts and stuff.
No, I think there's them. No, never mind. Like, yeah, never mind.
I don't remember. Yeah. You have a Lord of the Rings-esque sacrifice at a bridge.
You do, yeah.
Which is insane. This really is just Lord of the Rings for Zoomers, isn't it?
It kind of is, and the pacing loans itself to it. What's the Garrett's nickname is the Garbage Man. What does Jennifer Coolidge call him at one point? The dumpster?
Trash bag.
The trash bag. The trash bag. Like, there's little lines like that friggin' got me. I mean, I'm serious. I laughed throughout this thing. I thought it was very quick-witted, especially when it had no right to be, when it's in like this Edward Scissorhands kind of like fictitious suburbia in Idaho of all places. Like, because I kept calling it like Edward Scissorhands, or kept thinking of Edward Scissorhands, because that's kind of what it looked like dioramic in a way. Even in the real world, where it has no right to be entertaining and has no right to be fun, like you had the art teacher, you know what I mean? You had the interactions of Garrett trying to get that Atari console in the storage locker and everything. Like,
completely original, does not correlate to Minecraft at all. Yeah, it certainly wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah, that frame story could have been a sheer waste, and I think. And I think it pulled it off. Catherine and I were both stunned with how much we enjoyed this thing. Our theater was engaged with it too. Probably played a role in it too. Just seeing people like unabashedly. And keep in mind, we saw this opening night. I had the chicken jockey thing was lost on me. I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok.
Did people actually react like that when
there was a whole group of about 8 or 9, like probably late middle school, early high school boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and they stood up and applauded. They were clapping and cheering.
I gotta know, like, how did this all start? Like, cause like it just came out of nowhere. Like, how did the Zoomers come up with this?
I think it's post irony. Where everyone is like they got over quickly. I'm noticing this with Zoomers, where they recognize something is stupid, like us. They know it's like, hey, this is dumb. We know, we get it. Let's enjoy it. Let's go full on. Let's just go all in. And they do it. And then it becomes genuine. And there's something I honestly kind of admire about it.
That's probably why I didn't like hate on this movie as much as possible, because that's me with those Sony Marvel movies with Morbius, Madam Web. I went to the theater and I was those kids, bro.
Because I was gonna say, is it their response to maybe what they see us as, like, the older generation taking shit way too seriously on Facebook and social media and stuff like that?
It could be that, but I think Dom's right, where it's just like they're just embracing it at this point. Like because I remember like so many people like that are my cousin's age were like, oh, this looks like trash. This looks terrible. This looks bad. And now it's a complete 180 where it's like they don't think it's good, but like they're fully embracing it. Like it's like a staple to like their like culture almost.
It's The Room. It's like
You know what? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It might be just their room.
it's a little different because The Room was its own complete thing that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the popular culture.
And that was slow to catch on. That didn't start developing a following until about
that
4
one
years
truly
later.
earned it. That one truly earned it. This one was built from the top down and bottom up to be what the phenomenon that it is. And yeah, I think it's just the younger folks and like-minded individuals just fully embracing it in the shitty world that we live in. I really can't fault them for it. Like I mentioned earlier in this review, I went to a school board meeting where a local hate group was trying to push anti-trans legislation. So you know what? If those kids just want to go to a theater and yell chicken jockey and clap at Jack Black being stupid, then yeah, let them have it, man. Let them have it, man.
No, I totally understand that. Like it does give you a welcome break from the cynicism of the world too. And this might be, and I know you guys are lower on it than me. Again, Catherine and I were both talking after we saw it. This thing has a lot of the spirit we both agreed with, and this might be high praise. It has a lot of the same spirit, I think, and imagination and sort of energy behind it that I saw in Jumanji. And I think that there's a lot of that here, that makes it such in my opinion, a very easy movie to like. I didn't think it was going to not necessarily move me, but strike me, especially in the ways of just what I love, what it does with the cast chemistry and what it does with the pacing. Because it's like, okay, it'd be one thing if this movie was silly enough and it made me laugh and smile a few times and I liked it. But what pushes it over the edge for me are those two things that are like very, fundamentally simple things, but they're not executed very well in movies of this stature or movies of this size and scope very often, especially movies that are looking to set up a fucking franchise at the end of the day. Like, and so that's what I like about this thing. I like how open-ended it felt. I like how it kind of, because I mean, you think about it too. It's hard to make a movie. There's a reason we haven't gotten a Grand Theft Auto movie. It's hard to make a movie on a sandbox game.
No, it is. And again, kudos to them for actually being like, we're going to the world. We're staying in there. We're not doing this whole, they're coming to our world and everything.
This is a aside. If you want, the GTA movie has already been made, and it's a TV show, and it's called Barry on HBO. That's the GTA movie.
You mentioned that with Death of a Unicorn,
that's what it is.
Too. You mentioned that in our review of Death of a Unicorn too. Another show to add to my to add to my never-ending list here. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say I don't want to keep forever and stuff.
Do you want to pivot? Do you want to go?
I was
going to wrap up. I really didn't have much to add, honestly.
We don't have to add on to the box office or anything like that. But I think that I had more fun, honestly, talking about this movie too. Kind of don't want to ruin it with financials and stuff. It is doing well. I'm glad to see it doing well too, because I think this thing is just a real positive. I'll start with closing thoughts and I'll give it to you guys. I think this thing is just a real positivity beacon too. There's a lot of blockbusters, like. You look at them like Marvel, because that's really the dominant blockbuster nowadays. And these Marvel movies have become a little bit of everything. They've become like time traveling movies. They've become espionage movies. They've become political movies in so many ways. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But they don't really embrace sort of, I guess, the sillier side of their origins, where this movie does it from the very beginning and doesn't take itself too seriously. Has a director who, and again, I'm critical of Hess's first two movies, Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, but Hess has succeeded because he doesn't take himself too seriously. And even with a quintet of writers on this thing, and even more on the story credits, I still feel like his vision comes through with this thing to a strong degree. And it has somebody it doesn't have a glorified producer, not to mention the Russo brothers, but we won't go there. It doesn't have a glorified producer playing director. So I think that works in its favor too. And I think the cast is just uniformly terrific. I love the way they mesh together. I love the way they blend together. If they could get the entire band back together and Hess back in the director's chair, I would sign up for a sequel tomorrow. I think I enjoyed this movie that much.
This is making a sequel. No doubt.
Your name was auto added to the list, my friend.
Yes. and I'll say, like, I don't do this. I should probably do this. Maybe I'll start this year. I should make. We thought about it last year, like doing like a top 5 movies that disappointed us the most or something like that. This probably winds up being. It would take something massive to unseat it. This is my biggest surprise of the year, as far as a movie that I went into with middling expectations that I really enjoyed. So it's 3.5 out of 4 stars for me. I liked it
Wow.
that
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Can I go next
that
here?
much.
I saw his review and I went, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I just went like, ain't no way. I'm like, what happened to Steve?
There's a reason I texted you guys after we got out of the movie, and I said, yeah, like I was like, yeah, we are gonna review this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to go next. That way we can see if we can
Yes.
thaw Joe's cold heart. As a Redditor, I will give this 2 stars. But as a human being, who has context, right, of the world around me, I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Like, it knows exactly what it is, and it went all in on that. So I have to applaud it. And the results kind of speak for themselves in terms of the culture, in terms of the cultural what it means. I'll say this: the gag that absolutely got me the most. I did chuckle throughout this movie. Don't get me wrong, but what absolutely actually floored me, and like I actually laughed out loud. There was a scene where a character tries to sneakily stab another character with a dagger, with a hidden dagger, and they do it twice. And the way the other character slaps the dagger out of the hand is perfect. That is like minutia that you can't teach in acting school or like directing school or whatever. It wasn't like gentle putting away. It wasn't like a hard comical slapstick slap. It was like and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I'll say this lastly, if you're a Redditor, let's be honest, if you're a Redditor who bemoans, who absolutely hates that this movie is making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, there was a movie a while ago, another animated movie that you could have given your money to. If you were complaining about this one, I should see all of you sons of bitches go out to see The Day the Earth Blew Up. Yeah.
Where the fuck were you all at these last few weeks if you hate that this is making money?
That's what I thought. That's what I effing thought. You can do it too, right? So, yeah, man.
and Dog Man.
An excuse. I have blood coming out my stomach.
There you go. So, yeah, I did 2.5 out of 4 stars. Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah.
Wow. Gonna make me the what's her name, Steve? The minutia.
the Malgotia.
The Magosha. The minutia.
Steve read the wiki on this?
I wouldn't have remembered if it wasn't so fun to say.
Gonna make me the Magusha of this review. Hey man, like, I get it. All right, like I look at the guy who loves the Fast and Furious on this show and like has defended it when you guys like didn't like it at all and gave it its reviews and everything. So it's. The older I get, it's like, and I try to teach friends who are my age or, even older than me, that I'm like, dude, when you just understand, it's just my opinion. Like, it's okay if I like it more than you, or I didn't like it as much as you, I don't like it at all, like, or anything like that. So let me say it like this. As a critic, and judging it for what it is, if I was taking I think Siskel was more like this than Ebert was, on the show and everything.
Ebert hated video games. Ebert did not like video games.
Yeah, that I know. But I think didn't Siskel have more of an approach of like judging it like for the purpose of like what it's made for? Like, okay, if this is made for, or no, maybe that was Ebert more actually. I don't know.
That's more Ebert.
That is more Ebert.
That's definitely more Ebert.
That's what I thought. I don't know why I thought it was Siskel at first. If I were to take that approach with this, I would probably give this 2 stars and everything, because I do think it does accomplish everything it needs to do for the audience it's made for the people that it was created for and everything. But for me, and I hate doing this, it's like I gave 2-star ratings. For me, yeah, I'm sorry guys, this is a 1-star movie for me. I just didn't like this at all, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be 1.5. Okay.
No, I know I didn't. If I didn't have the fucking technical difficulties, you would have heard more from me. That really threw me off tonight. You're lucky, actually. I because I had a list of stuff, and I had to close Chrome because I think Chrome was using too much of like my megabytes of like internet. Like I open up a tab and it's using 365 megabytes, like more. It's like okay, no, so I had to shut all that down and only keep the YouTube stream up. So like everything I had ready for this movie went and combusted. I was like, I've been defeated by Minecraft.
I'm gonna go. First off, Catherine says she feels like she don't even know you. After that, I'll say too. I don't. I would. You have to go back, and I think I would have remembered if I did. I don't think there's ever been a movie that we've ever covered on Sleepless where one of us gives it 3.5 or higher, and the other gives it 1. I don't think we've ever had that big of a star disparity.
I don't think we have two because
on
it's
the show.
If there lowest it was me. I bet you it was me being the fuddy-duddy in this one.
I honestly think it's always been like 2-star whenever it's been like something like if it's like two of us have liked it but one of us was like the odd man out,
because I was high on Maxine and you weren't. I remember
yeah and I still I was like, hey, Maxine was 2 stars for me. It was disappointing, but it was a 2-star film. Yeah, no, I don't think this has ever been something like this where we had this much. Hey man, that's a first. Congratulations, Minecraft. You made Sleepless with history. It only took 6 years.
We're really gonna have to listen to this guy shit on this great movie at the end of the.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. I'm pulling out my notes and everything. I'm documenting it. All right, I'm coming back. Don't you worry.
Next he's gonna tell me he hated In the Heights. Like, you know what I mean? For movies that were like unexpected delights for me. Man, what a great show. I knew this was going to be a great show. That's why I insisted, even though I pulled the audible last week for Luckiest Man, I insisted we double back and review this.
Yeah.
Next week, I didn't want this to drop off the calendar either. Warfare. We are going to tackle that because it was one of our best shows, I think, last year was Alex Garland's Civil War. So I wanted
Minecraft to Warfare.
I know. We got to go back. We got to go back to reviewing very depressing and dark adult movies. But Warfare next week, which I'm excited to talk about too, because like I said, Civil War was a great show last year. And then after that, we got Sinners, the new Ryan Coogler movie, which I cannot wait to see this thing. Yeah. Sneaky, I just noticed this because I pulled up the Wikipedia just to have it ready for when I write the review tomorrow night. Sneaky name attached to this movie. Now, Ryan Coogler's name is all over it. Director, writer, producer. Sneaky name attached to this movie. You're not going to know it off the top of your head, but I do because I have no life. One of the producers, the top producers of this movie, besides Zinzi Coogler, who I believe is his wife, is Sev Ohanian. Sev Ohanian was the co-writer, co-producer of Searching.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sneaky name right there. Just to keep in mind, he was also, I believe, the executive producer of, I believe Ohanian also produced Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, he's really moving on up. Okay.
Ohanian is a really smart name to watch. So I didn't know he was connected until like 5 minutes ago, but I saw that and I was like, that's a really good sign to me. I like Ohanian a lot.
I saw Haley Steinfeld and I said, I'm sold. Let's go.
I mean, yeah.
No, I'm pumped for this movie. I love Michael B. Jordan, and like I said, everybody knew Ryan Coogler when he did Creed, and Black Panther. Those were the two that put him on the map. I have to play this card. Where your ass was at in 2013, Fruitvale Station. Yeah. Where your ass was at when Coogler and Michael B. Jordan made their first movie, Fruitvale Station, and that amazing motion picture.
Yeah.
So I knew Coogler was going to be doing some great things very, very soon. And hell, what is it? 10 years later now, he gets money for his own original blockbuster. I can't wait to see this thing. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. Warfare's next week on the show, and that's going to be a great discussion. I'm not telling, like I said, this movie behooves you to go in blind and make sure to have some Ben Gay after the movie ready for you, because you are going to be a tense SOB when that movie finally ends. That's all I'm going to say. We will talk about Warfare next week on the show. Great discussion today. Lots of disparities, but I wouldn't have it any other way with these two gentlemen. Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso, and yours truly. This has been Sleepless with Steve.